In 1789, Paris appeared calm on the surface. Unaware it was standing at the edge of a revolution that would change history forever. From afar, the city looked orderly, elegant, and controlled, masking the pressure building quietly beneath everyday routines. Paris was the heart of France, home to power, culture, and nearly 600,000 people packed inside narrow streets. Grand palaces and churches dominated the skyline, symbols of authority that felt distant from ordinary daily life. The monarchy ruled from above, confident in tradition and hierarchy that had endured for centuries. Yet beneath elegance, the city struggled with overcrowding, poor sanitation, and fragile systems barely holding together. Food shortages had become common, turning bread from a staple into a daily obsession. Prices rose faster than wages, forcing families to choose between hunger and survival each day. Rumors spread through taverns and markets, quietly questioning whether the old order still deserved obedience. Paris felt stable, but only because the pressure had not yet found a way to release. Bread shortages shaped daily life in Paris during 1789, turning survival into a constant struggle for working families. For many Parisians, bread consumed most wages, leaving little for rent, fuel, or medicine. Anger grew quietly as hunger revealed how fragile the city's social balance truly was. While common people struggled, nobles continued lavish routines, seemingly untouched by the crisis. This inequality sharpened resentment, making wealth feel provocative rather than admirable. Pamphlets criticizing authority circulated discreetly, spreading ideas that challenged centuries of obedience. Cafes and taverns became places of debate where frustration turned into shared anger. Discussions once whispered now grew bolder, questioning monarchy, privilege, and fairness. The city felt divided, not by walls, but by hunger, wealth, and opportunity. Paris remained outwardly calm, yet beneath the surface, unity was beginning to fracture. Printed words traveled faster than rumors in 1789 Paris, carrying dangerous ideas into streets, homes, and workshops. Enlightenment thinkers questioned absolute power, inspiring readers to imagine a society built on rights, not birth. Books and pamphlets passed hand to hand, quietly reshaping how ordinary people viewed authority. Censorship struggled to keep pace. As ideas escaped salons and reached markets and taverns, conversations grew sharper, blending philosophy with daily anger over hunger and inequality. Many no longer questioned whether change was needed, only how far it should go. The concept of the nation began replacing loyalty to crown or class. Hope mixed with fear as people sensed that speaking freely carried real danger. Authorities monitored dissent carefully, aware control was slipping beyond familiar methods. Paris was thinking differently now, and thoughts once changed rarely returned to silence. As spring turned to summer in 1789, Paris felt tense, like a crowd waiting for something unnamed to finally happen. Soldiers appeared more frequently in the streets, reminding citizens that authority still intended to maintain order. Their presence reassured some, but unsettled many others already suspicious of royal intentions. Food shortages persisted, keeping anger alive beneath the city's fragile surface calm. Meetings multiplied quietly as citizens organized, debated, and prepared without fully knowing for what. Rumors of royal crackdowns spread quickly, heightening fear and urgency throughout neighborhoods. Authorities struggled to respond, uncertain whether force would restore order or ignite something uncontrollable. The city's rhythm slowed, as if Paris itself was holding its breath. People watched each other carefully, sensing that loyalties and intentions were shifting rapidly. Paris stood balanced on a fragile edge, calm enough to appear normal, unstable enough to collapse suddenly. Tension finally broke when rumors spread that royal troops would move against Paris, turning fear into sudden collective resolve across neighborhoods. Crowds gathered instinctively, sensing this moment mattered. As anger overcame hesitation throughout the city of Paris in 1789, suddenly together, weapons were scarce, but determination was not. As citizens searched for anything useful to defend themselves that day in Paris 1789, the Bastille stood nearby, a symbol of royal power, authority, and long imprisonment for Parisians in 1789 France. Today it loomed. Though lightly guarded, the fortress represented everything people feared and resented. About the old regime in 1789 Paris at that time, news spread rapidly that arms were stored inside. turning the Bastille into a target for angry citizens across Paris. 1789. By midday, crowds moved with purpose, no longer whispering, but shouting demands openly in the streets of Paris. 1789 together. Fear of repression gave way to courage. As numbers grew and resolve hardened among ordinary Parisians that summer of 1789, the city's mood shifted decisively, from waiting to action. From anxiety to confrontation inside Paris during 1789 history-making hours. Paris had found its spark, and the balance of power was about to change forever. In 1789, France, and beyond. On July 14, 1789, Paris awoke tense, unaware the day would permanently redefine power, authority, and the people themselves. Crowds converged toward the Bastille, driven by fear, anger, and the urgent need for weapons and justice. Negotiations began hesitantly as citizens demanded arms, while guards waited nervously behind stone walls. Tension escalated when shots were fired, turning uncertainty into open violence within moments. Chaos erupted as fighting spread, with smoke, shouting, and confusion filling the streets around the fortress. Despite losses, the crowd pressed forward, believing retreat meant surrendering everything they demanded. Eventually, the defenders capitulated and the Bastille fell to the people of Paris. The fortress gates opened, revealing prisoners and symbolizing the collapse of royal authority. News spread instantly across Paris, electrifying the city with disbelief and triumph. By nightfall, Paris understood history had shifted irreversibly on that single day in 1789. The fall of the Bastille shocked Paris, as disbelief quickly turned into celebration across streets, homes, and crowded public squares. Bells rang throughout the city, spreading the news faster than messengers could travel on foot. Citizens armed themselves openly now, no longer hiding their defiance or fear of royal punishment. Royal authority collapsed visibly as officials fled, hid, or attempted to negotiate survival. Symbols of the old regime were attacked, broken, or repurposed by angry crowds. Neighborhood militias formed quickly, determined to protect gains won through blood and courage. Paris reorganized itself rapidly, replacing obedience with participation and shared responsibility. News from Paris echoed across France, inspiring unrest in cities, towns, and villages beyond the capital. What began as protest now felt like a revolution, unstoppable and irreversible. Paris no longer belonged to the crown, but to its people, united by action in 1789. In the days after the Bastille fell, Paris felt unfamiliar, as power shifted visibly from palaces to streets. Crowds gathered not in fear, but in cautious celebration, testing the reality of newly claimed freedom. Authority no longer spoke with a single voice. As committees, militias, and assemblies emerged across the city, old laws weakened rapidly, replaced by uncertain rules shaped through debate rather than decree. The monarchy still existed, but its power now felt conditional, fragile, and deeply questioned. Across Europe, observers watched Paris closely, sensing the implications reached far beyond France. Revolutionary ideas traveled outward, challenging long-standing hierarchies wherever they arrived. Paris had ignited something permanent, proving authority could be confronted and changed by collective action. The future remained uncertain, but returning to the past was no longer possible. Paris survived 1789 transformed, and the modern world would never develop the same way again.